The stars were calm, but the alien fleet was not. On the border of their empire, ships drifted in silent patrol, their scanners reaching deep into the dark void for weeks. Whispers had spread between crews about strange signals. A shadow moving beyond their charts, larger than any ship they had ever seen. At first, many called it a ghost story, something to pass the time during long watches. But now the fear was real, Captain. The long-range array has picked up something again, a young officer said. His hands shaking over the console, the captain frowned, his large eyes narrowing as he leaned closer. The screen flickered, showing only static lines, but behind the noise was a form, a massive outline. The captain's throat tightened. "Magnify it," he ordered. The screen sharpened just enough to reveal a dark shape against the stars. It did not move like their ships. It did not respond to hails. It only drifted in silence. The crew stared at it as if it was a monster in the night. That looks human," one officer whispered. The room fell quiet. The captain turned sharply. "Do not speak such nonsense. Humanity was destroyed generations ago." Yet his voice betrayed doubt. His people remembered the stories. Humans had once been called deathworlders, the most dangerous species in the galaxy. They had fought wars with savage strength. Then they vanished, and no one knew how or why. But if that shadow was a human warship, it meant those stories were true. The admiral of the border fleet received the report within the hour, his chambers filled with officers, each speaking at once. "It swallowed our probes. None returned. 3 scouts vanished near the anomaly. The shadow is growing larger." The admiral slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Enough," his voice echoed. "Send another wave of scouts, double the strength. I want proof the next day." The new squadron launched 20 ships in formation, their lights burning against the darkness. They approached the shadow with weapons ready on the bridge of the admiral's flagship. Silence fell as every screen showed the squadron advancing. The shadow loomed larger, stretching like a wall of black steel. "Contact in 10 seconds, an officer said. The admiral's claws tapped against the rail. The countdown ticked, then the shadow pulsed. A wave of energy swept through space. Lights across the admiral's bridge flickered. The squadron vanished from the screens. Static replaced them. Only a faint scream over the comms broke the silence before cutting off. "What happened?" the admiral roared. The technicians worked frantically. One whispered, pale with terror, "They are gone, all of them." In a single strike, the officers froze. No weapon they knew could erase 20 ships without warning. The admiral's scales darkened. "It cannot be human," he muttered, but even he no longer believed it. That night across the fleet, fear spread like fire. Crews whispered in the corridors, "It is the deathworlders. They have returned." Some refused to sleep, staring out windows into the black, hoping not to see the shadow again. Others prayed to their gods, asking to be spared. The following morning, the admiral tried again. This time he ordered communication instead of attack. "Open a channel," he commanded. The officers worked quickly. A transmission was sent. A formal greeting of peace and inquiry. The shadow remained still. Seconds turned to minutes. Static hissed on the bridge. Then a sound came through. Not words, not greetings, only silence broken by faint distortion. Like breathing, every officer stiffened. The admiral whispered, "They are watching us." Suddenly, alarms blared. The shadow was moving. Slowly at first, then with terrifying speed. It was coming closer. Its shape began to clear. Towers rose from its surface. Weapons mounted like fangs of a predator. The admiral shouted, "Prepare defenses!" Ships scrambled into formation, weapons armed, yet none felt confident. The shadow finally emerged fully from the void. A warship, massive and armored. Its hull bore scars of battles long past, glowing marks across black steel. No banners, no insignia, only silence. It drifted before the alien fleet like a predator circling prey. The comms crackled again. This time a voice came low and cold. "You should not have searched for us." The language was old but clear. It was human. The crew froze. Fear turned to dread. The admiral tried to remain strong. "This is alien space. Identify yourself," the human voice answered with chilling calm. We are what you feared in your stories. We are what you hoped had vanished. The alien officers trembled, one whispered. Deathworlders. The warship's weapons lit with red light. Engines roared. The Admiral's final order rang out. All ships, fire. But before a single shot could land, the human warship moved. Its weapons fired once. A beam of light tore across the stars, slicing through an entire wing of alien ships. Explosions blossomed like suns. The fleet shook in horror. Retreat! Retreat now! Officers screamed. The aliens scattered, ships fleeing in chaos. The warship did not pursue. It only watched, silent and steady, as if marking prey for later. The Admiral's voice cracked as he whispered to himself, "If this is only one ship, how many more wait in the dark?" The crew said nothing. They all knew the truth. Humanity had not died. They had hidden. They had grown stronger. As the warship faded back into the shadows of the stars, one last message burned across the fleet's comms. "Oh, you're back!" The words echoed in every mind, cold, final, unstoppable. The galaxy had just witnessed the return of deathworlders, and no one could sleep again. The alien empire was restless. News of the shadow spread faster than light across military channels and into the homes of frightened citizens. Some called it a lie, others swore it was a human warship. Old legends of deathworlders returned to the center of every conversation. Soldiers avoided windows at night, as if staring into the stars too long might invite the monster ship to appear. On the flagship, Admiral Rethor sat in silence. His claws tapped the edge of the command table. Every report confirmed the same truth. Scouts gone, squadrons erased. And now one warship had frightened an entire empire. The Admiral's second-in-command leaned closer, his voice low. "Admiral, the men are afraid. Morale is breaking. They whisper the humans will destroy us all." Rethor's eyes burned with anger. "They are only one ship," he snapped. "No matter what power they have, no single vessel can threaten an empire." But even as he said it, the doubt inside him twisted like a knife. That single vessel had already broken a fleet of 20. He tried to ignore the weight in his chest. The Council of War gathered hours later. High commanders from every sector appeared on the giant display. Their voices clashed. "We must send the Grand Fleet at once. No, we cannot risk drawing them deeper into our space. If humans are alive, they will not stop at the border." The shouting grew louder until Rethor slammed his fist. The hall fell silent. "We face an old enemy. When thought dead," he said, his voice cold. "If humans have survived, they will strike harder than before. We must act with precision, not panic." Across the void, the shadow warship drifted silently. Its engines glowed faint red, its weapons powered down. But its presence was enough to choke the galaxy with fear. On board, human voices spoke calmly. "They still remember us," one officer said with a grim smile. The commander of the ship, a tall figure with grey eyes, nodded. "Good. Fear is the first weapon. Let them waste their strength before we even fire again." Back in the alien capital, panic spilled into the streets. Citizens demanded answers. How can ghosts return? Why are the admirals silent? Priests declared it a curse from the stars. Merchants prayed to close their trade routes before war consumed them. The empire trembled not because of what had been done, but because of what might come next. Admiral Rethor returned to his fleet, determination burning in his chest. He ordered more ships forward, this time 100, massive vessels bristling with weapons. On the bridge, his officers whispered, "That is enough to burn planets." "Surely it will be enough?" Rethor's gaze hardened. "It must be." As the fleet advanced, scanners caught the shadow again. The warship loomed in silence, waiting. "Open comms," Rethor commanded. His voice echoed through the void. "Unknown vessel, you trespass on sovereign space. Identify or be destroyed." For a moment there was nothing, only the hum of the fleet. Then the reply came, a cold human voice. "You have already tried to destroy us. You failed." The words struck like a blade. Officers shifted uncomfortably. Rethor growled, "You are one ship. You cannot defeat us." Silence followed. Then laughter, slow and heavy. "You believe we are one?" The human voice said. "Look again." The scanners flickered. At first, the screen showed only the massive warship. Then the static cleared. Dozens of smaller shadows appeared behind it. Then more, spreading like a storm across the stars. The bridge fell silent. An entire formation of human ships had been cloaked in the darkness. The officer at the console whispered, "It was never one ship." Sweat gleamed on his scaled forehead. Rithor's hands trembled. The human fleet lit its engines. One by one, their silhouettes grew clear. Warships of impossible design, sharp and armored. Each bore scars of ancient battles, as if they had never stopped fighting. "Prepare for impact," Rithor barked. But his voice cracked. The alien fleet formed tight lines, weapons glowing. Across the void, the humans remained still. Then the lead ship's lights pulsed. Not weapons, but a signal. A transmission followed. "We do not want peace," the human voice declared. "We want memory. You forgot us. You buried us in your history as a dead race. You will remember again." Without warning, human ships moved, not firing directly, but cutting through space with terrifying speed. Alien ships struggled to lock onto them. Every missile missed. Every laser scattered across empty air. The humans fired only once, a precision strike. A single alien battleship exploded in a blinding flash. The others froze. They could not track them, could not fight them. It was like battling shadows. On the bridge, Rithor shouted, "Hold the line! Hold it!" But fear was louder than his voice. Captains broke formation. Ships scattered in panic. The humans did not chase. They simply hovered in the dark, watching as the alien fleet tore itself apart with fear. Then something stranger happened. A small human vessel broke formation and drifted toward the aliens. It opened a channel. On the screen appeared a human face. Pale, scarred, eyes burning with cold fire. "You thought we were gone," he said slowly. "But deathworlders do not vanish. We endure." We returned. The transmission cut. The small vessel turned and vanished into the void. The larger fleet followed, fading back into shadows as if they had never been there. Silence fell. The alien fleet floated broken and scattered, not from battle, but from terror. On his flagship, Rithor sank into his chair, his chest heavy. His officers looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. "What are they planning?" one whispered. Rithor stared at the stars. "This was not war," he said quietly. "This was a warning." His words spread like fire through the Empire. That night, across countless worlds, no one slept. Every citizen, every soldier, every child looked at the stars with fear. The shadow was no longer a story. It was real. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy trembled, knowing the worst was yet to come. The Empire felt smaller each day. News from the border turned into fear inside every city. People watched the sky as if the shadow could fall at any moment. In the command halls, maps glowed with red, showing where ships had vanished, where stations had gone silent. Admiral Rithor stood before the council again. His voice was calm, but his eyes were tired. "They are not attacking our worlds," he said. "They are choosing where to be seen. They want us to look at them. They want us to be afraid," the council leader hissed. "Then crush them." Rithor shook his head. "We tried. What we faced was not strength alone. It was discipline, it was planning. It was years of silence turned into strategy." A thin counselor leaned forward. "Then we must learn who they are now. We must take something from them, a prisoner, a ship, anything." Rithor nodded slowly. "I have a plan. On a dusty moon near the border, a listening post sat inside a crater. It was small, quiet, and not important, which made it perfect. Rithor sent a covert team there with orders to wait. "We will bait them," he told his captain. "We will send a fake distress call. They watch our channels. They test our fear. If they come close to look, we trap them." The captain hesitated. "What if they do not answer?" Rithor's jaw tightened. "Then we learn that too." The distress call went out across the void. It was simple, believable. Listening post, Theta under attack, shields failing, requesting aid. Then the team sat in the dark and waited. Hours passed, the crater was silent. The captain whispered, "Maybe they did not hear." A soldier near the window stiffened. "Movement," he said. "Something just entered high orbit." The captain peered through a narrow slit. A shape crossed the stars. Not big like the warship, but small and quick. The air inside the post turned cold. The strange craft drifted lower, invisible to standard scans. Only a faint ripple. The captain swallowed. "Hold fire," he said. "Wait for the admiral's signal." The soldiers held their breath. The craft came closer and settled on the edge of the crater like a silent bird. A figure stepped out, tall and lean, wrapped in dark material that drank the light. The captain whispered, "Human." The word felt heavy in his mouth. The figure moved without sound, as if his boots did not touch the ground. He walked straight to the post's hatch and spoke through a small speaker. His voice was calm, old, patient. "Theta post." "You called for aid." The captain glanced at his squad. "This is it," he mouthed. He pressed the door control. It slid open with a soft hiss. The human stood alone. His face was scarred, his eyes grey and steady. He looked at the captain and the soldiers without fear. "You asked for help," he repeated. The captain forced a smile. "Yes, we did. Thank you for answering." The human tilted his head. "Your distress code was from an old system. It was used by border watch stations 2 generations ago." "Why?" The captain felt a chill. The human had noticed the first lie in one breath. He tried another. "We are short of upgrades. Budget cuts." The human said nothing. He stepped inside, his gaze moving over every corner, as if he could see through metal. "What is your damage report?" he asked. The captain nodded to a console. "There." The human took one step closer, then stopped. His eyes shifted to the right, to a small seam in the wall that hid a weapon turret. He lifted his chin. "Trap," he said softly. The captain swallowed. "Stand down. You are surrounded." The room exploded into motion. The hidden turret snapped open. Soldiers leveled rifles. Alarms screamed. The human did not raise his hands. He only breathed out, slow and steady. "You chose a poor place for this," he said. "Your post sits on a thin layer of ancient rock. Your turret will shake the ground when it fires. Your ceiling will fall." The captain barked. "Fire!" The turret lit the room with a bright line. The ground shuddered. Dust fell from the ceiling in sheets. Cracks raced across the roof like lightning. The soldiers stumbled. The human moved like water. He stepped forward, touched the turret's base with a small device, and the weapon died with a sad whine. The ceiling gave way, and a slab of rock crashed down between them, cutting the room in half. The human looked through the falling dust. His voice was calm. "You tried to take me alive, good. That means your leaders want answers. I came to give you one." The captain coughed. "You are our enemy." The human shook his head. "Not today." He pointed up. "Look through the cracked ceiling." The sky flickered with a faint green wave. The soldier at the window gasped. "Radiation surge." The human nodded. "A rogue mining array in orbit is about to vent its core. If it does, this moon will burn, and your border will be open to panic for a year." The captain stared. "You caused this," the human answered. "No, your abandoned machines caused this. But fear is loud. You did not listen." The human moved to the console and began to type. The captain raised his rifle. A soldier grabbed his arm, whispering, "If he can stop it, let him." The human spoke without looking up. "You do not need to trust me. Just watch your sky." The green wave brightened. The human's fingers danced over keys. He plugged in a dark tool shaped like a blade. The screens flashed with ancient symbols. The captain's heart pounded. "What are you doing?" The human said. "Speaking to a machine you forgot." Outside, the small craft on the crater rim powered its engines and rose like a hawk. A thin beam shot into the sky. It stabbed the failing array. The green wave trembled, then slowed inside the post. The alarms fell one by one into silence. The human exhaled. He pulled the tool free. "Done," he said. The captain lowered his rifle. For a moment no one spoke. The human turned to leave. The captain found his voice. "Wait," he said. "Why help us?" The human paused at the door. "Because panic spreads faster than war," he said. "Because your children do not deserve to choke on the fear of their fathers," the captain whispered. "Who are you?" The human looked back with those grey eyes that felt older than the ceiling above them. "A scout," he said. "A memory." He stepped out into the thin light of the crater. The captain ran to the door. "We can still take him," a soldier hissed. The captain shook his head. "No," he said. "We asked for help, and he helped." The soldier stared, confused. "But he is deathworlder," the captain answered. "He is also alive, above the moon." Admiral Rethor watched the readings with clenched teeth. He had ordered strike ships to surround the crater the moment the human appeared. Now he saw the radiation threat collapse and the array stabilize. His second-in-command whispered, "He saved our post." Rethor closed his eyes for a long breath. "He walked into our trap and left on his own terms," he said. "He showed us our weakness and fixed it before we could see it," the officer asked. "Do we fire on his craft?" Rethor stared at the small ship rising from the crater, the lone figure stepping inside without hurry. "No," he said at last. "Let him go." The human craft lifted and vanished into the dark. Rethor opened a channel and spoke to the entire border command. His voice was steady. "We have learned two truths today. They are stronger than we feared. And they are not foolish. They choose when to strike. And they choose when to spare." He looked at the stars and felt the old stories breathe again. "We cannot win with fear," he said. "We must win with understanding." That night, the Empire did not sleep, but its fear changed shape. It was no longer the wild terror of a monster in the dark. It was a colder fear, the kind that asks questions. Mothers told their children a new story. They said, "The humans came to the moon. They could have killed everyone, but they did not. They left a message instead." And when the children asked what the message was, the mothers answered softly, "Listen before you scream." In the quiet after, a secure transmission crossed the void from the Admiral's flagship to an unknown point in deep space. It carried no threat, no demand, only a line of simple words. "We wish to talk." And far away, in the shadow between stars, a human voice read those words and smiled like a man who had waited a long time to hear them. "Then listen," he said to the dark, "because the first truth will hurt, and the second truth will save you." The Empire's council chamber was silent. The great walls of glass showed the endless stars, but no one looked at them. Every eye was fixed on the Admiral standing in the center. Admiral Rethor's voice was steady, but beneath it carried the weight of fear. "They are not here to destroy us," he said. "Not yet. They are here to remind us they still exist. They want us to know that every system, every world, every fleet is under their eyes." The council leader bared sharp teeth. "And you let one walk away." Rethor's gaze did not falter. "He walked into our trap. He left after saving one of our posts from disaster. He did not have to. He chose to." Murmurs broke out. One councillor hissed, "Then they are toying with us." Another shouted, "They want us to live in fear, always waiting for the next strike." The leader raised his hand. "We must prepare for war. We must show them our power." Rethor answered coldly, "If you do, they will only prove how weak that power is, far away." In the shadow between systems, the human fleet gathered. Their ships moved like silent hunters, cloaked by darkness. In the command chamber of the lead vessel, the grey-eyed commander studied the map of alien space. His officers waited for orders. One asked, "Do we strike their core worlds now?" The commander shook his head. "No, fear is doing our work, but fear alone is not enough. We must decide who we are after silence." Another officer leaned forward. "Then what is the next step?" The commander's lips curved slightly. "Contact." Days later, across the border, alien fleets reported strange movements. Supply convoys vanished. Stations found their databases stripped but untouched. No bodies, no battles, only empty halls on one station. Graffiti in an old tongue burned into a wall. 4 words. "We are still here." The Empire tried to hide the news, but whispers carried. Citizens grew restless. Soldiers became sleepless. Admiral Rethor knew something was coming. He kept his fleet on high alert. His officers looked at him for answers. "What if they come here again?" one asked. Rethor turned to the stars. "Then we listen," he said softly. The officer frowned. "Listen to what?" Rethor did not answer. The answer came at dawn, if dawn could exist in the void. On the edge of the Empire, a massive human warship appeared without warning. It did not fire, it did not move, it simply hovered. Its presence alone set alarms screaming across every system. The Council panicked. "This is it!" they cried. "The invasion begins," fleets scrambled, stations locked down across the Empire. Hearts raced in fear, but instead of an attack, a signal was broadcast. Not in code, not in riddles, but in plain language. It echoed through every comm, every device. "You will not survive war with us, but you may survive peace." The voice was the same grey-eyed commander. Calm and sharp, the Council ordered the message cut. But it was too late. Every citizen had heard it. Every soldier had heard it. The Empire trembled. On his flagship, Rethor listened in silence. His second-in-command whispered, "They are daring us. They want to see what we will do." Rethor shook his head. "No, they are offering something," the officer hissed. "Peace? How can deathworlders speak of peace?" Rethor's voice was grim. "Because they know war better than any of us, and they know how it ends." At that moment, a fleet of alien ships rushed toward the human vessel. Young captains burning with pride, ignoring orders. "We will prove ourselves," one declared. Their ships broke formation and charged. The human warship did not move. It waited, engines hummed, weapons stayed cold. When the alien fleet entered firing range, the human vessel unleashed a single wave. Not weapons, but a blinding pulse of energy. Every alien system shut down. Ships went dark. Crews screamed in panic. The vessels drifted helpless in space. Then one by one, their power returned. The human ship sent one final message, "Do not test us again," and vanished into the void. The humiliated captains returned in silence. The Empire knew the truth. It was not strength, not firepower, but control. The humans could end fleets without firing a single shot. That night, Rethor stood alone in his quarters. Staring at the star map, a private channel buzzed alive. The screen lit with a face, scarred, grey-eyed. The human commander Rethor froze. "How did you access this line?" he demanded. The human only smiled. "We see what you hide. We hear what you whisper." Rethor clenched his fists. "Why me?" The human's voice softened. "Because you still think, you still measure before you strike. And because you will tell them the truth, even if they hate you for it." Rethor's chest tightened. "What truth?" The human leaned closer, his voice dropped. "That the deathworlders did not return to conquer. We return to judge, and judgment begins with fear. But it will not end there." Before Rethor could answer, the screen went black. He stood in silence, heart pounding. The Council would demand war. The citizens would beg for safety. But the humans had given him something else. A choice. If he chose wrong, his empire would burn. If he chose right, perhaps the galaxy might survive. The next day, he stood before the Council again. Their eyes sharp, their voices fierce. "We must strike now," they demanded. Rethor raised his head. "No," he said, "we must listen. Because this enemy is not what we believed. They can kill us at will. But they choose not to. That is not weakness. That is warning." The chamber erupted in rage. But in the noise, a few listened, and fear slowly shifted into something colder, something that looked almost like respect. In the deep void, the human commander stood on the bridge of his warship, watching alien signals ripple across the stars. His officer asked, "Do they believe you?" He smiled faintly. "They believe enough." His gaze hardened. Now the real test begins. The Empire was breaking under the weight of whispers. In the streets, people argued if the deathworlders were devils or saviors. In the barracks, soldiers polished weapons, but feared they would never fire true against shadows. In the Council, voices roared day and night. Some demanded war, some begged for surrender. Some simply prayed. Admiral Rethor sat in the middle of it all, trapped between fear and reason. One night, as he studied old star charts in his quarters, a hidden channel lit on his console. The screen flickered, showing the scarred human face he had seen before. The grey-eyed commander leaned forward. "You are losing control of your empire," he said calmly. Rethor's chest tightened. "And you are the cause." The human shook his head. No, fear is the cause. We only showed you the truth. It was already inside you. Rethor's voice rose. If you are here to conquer, then strike. If you are here to speak, then speak. The human's eyes darkened. We came to remind, not to rule. But reminders can turn to punishment if you lie to yourselves too long. The screen went black before Rethor could answer. The next morning, a message spread across the Empire, not from humans, but from the Empire's own security networks. Somehow, human signals had slipped through firewalls and left a single phrase across every display. We are watching! Panic swept the cities, markets closed, citizens rioted, children clung to their parents as alarms echoed. Soldiers muttered that even their homes were no longer safe. The council demanded Rethor act. Bring us their ship, one shouted. Bring us their commander, another cried. Rethor's claws dug into the table. You do not understand, he said. They choose when to be seen, they choose when to be silent. You cannot catch a shadow with nets. But the council pressed harder. Then bait them again. Use our people, use our fleets. Make them show themselves. Rethor hated the idea, but he agreed to set another trap. This time it was larger. A convoy of supply ships, loaded with false cargo, would drift near the border. Hidden warships would wait in silence. The plan was to lure a human vessel close, surround it, and finally prove they could take one alive. The convoy drifted through space, its signal strong. Rethor sat on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes fixed on the scanners. Hours passed, then the alarm chimed. Contact, an officer whispered. A shadow appeared, long and thin. Not the massive warship, but something smaller, quicker. A scout, Rethor muttered. His heart raced. The human craft approached the convoy without hesitation. It drifted alongside a supply ship as if curious. The hidden fleet tensed, waiting for the order. Now, an officer hissed. Rethor raised his hand, then froze on the screen. The scout ship sent a signal, not to them but to the convoy. Within seconds, the supply ship's lights flickered. Its engines died. Systems collapsed without a single shot fired. Rethor's officers shouted. They killed the convoy. But the captain of the supply ship appeared on the comm. His face pale. Admiral, they did not fire. Our systems are locked but untouched. The human scout signal pulsed again, and every hidden warship around the convoy lit up. Not weapons, but their own engines, somehow forced to glow at full strength. The trap was no longer hidden. The humans had flipped it open with a whisper. On the bridge, chaos erupted. They knew. They were never trapped. Admiral, what do we do? Rethor clenched his teeth. Hold, he ordered. Then, a new signal cut through every channel. The scarred human commander's face filled the screen. So this is your plan, he said, to trick us, to cage us, while your own people tremble in fear. Rethor stood tall. We had no choice. The human's voice sharpened. There is always a choice. You chose fear, and fear always fails. Without warning, the stars behind the scout rippled. Shadows stretched. Hundreds of human ships uncloaked in silence. Their hulls gleamed like blades. They formed a wall behind the small craft. The alien fleet stared in horror. They had walked into the real trap. Rethor's second-in-command whispered, they could erase us right now. The human commander seemed to hear him. His grey eyes burned as he said, yes, we could. But we did not come to end you. Not yet. We came to test you. And you failed. The human fleet's weapons pulsed with light, but none fired. Instead, the scout ship sent one last signal. Every alien console lit with the same words, remember who we are. Then, as suddenly as they appeared, the human fleet vanished. Fading back into the black, only the empty stars remained. Silence held the bridge. No one spoke. Finally, Rethor lowered his head. They showed us our weakness again, he said quietly. But they also showed restraint that is more dangerous than fire. His officers stared, not at him, but at the empty stars. Some were pale with fear, some with awe. Back in the council, Rethor faced the leaders again, their voices cracked with rage. You embarrassed us. You let them humiliate our fleets. You must step down. Rethor's voice cut through their noise. No, I will not. You call this humiliation. I call it survival. If they wanted us gone, we would already be ash in the stars. They are forcing us to see the truth, and if you blind yourselves to it, you will doom us all." The council fell into bitter silence. Some still spat with anger, but others began to shift, doubt carving lines into their faces. For the first time, the chamber was not filled with shouting, but with fear of the unknown. That night, Rithor stood on the observation deck of his flagship, staring at the dark. His second-in-command approached. "What now, Admiral?" Rethor's voice was low. "Now we wait, because they are not finished. They have shown us shadows, but shadows only hide the storm. And the storm is coming." Far away, the human commander stood in his own chamber. His officers waited. "They fear us," one said. "Yes," the commander replied, "but fear is only the beginning. Soon, they will face the choice that decides their future." His eyes turned cold as he whispered to himself, "And when they choose wrong, the galaxy will burn." The Empire stood on the edge of collapse. Every world was restless, every fleet was scattered, every whisper was of deathworlders. Some said the humans had returned as conquerors, some said they had returned as executioners, and some in secret hoped they had returned as saviors. Admiral Rithor felt the weight of all of it. He spent his nights staring at maps of stars, searching for patterns in the chaos. His second-in-command entered quietly. "Admiral, the Council is calling for you again. They demand action." Rethor did not turn. His voice was low. "Action without thought is suicide. They still do not understand. Every time we fight shadows, we lose. Every time we try to outsmart them, they are already ahead." The officer shifted nervously. "Then what do we do?" Rethor finally turned, his eyes heavy. "We wait for them to decide." The decision came faster than expected. A signal broke across every channel, strong, clear, impossible to block. The human voice echoed in every home, every base, every fleet. "This galaxy forgot us, buried us, called us dead. You feared us then, you fear us now, but fear is not enough. You must face the truth." Screens across the Empire filled with images. Old war records, ancient footage of human battles long erased from alien archives. Images of deathworlders standing on ruined worlds, fighting to the last breath. "You thought we were gone," the voice continued, "but we endured in silence. We built in silence. And now the silence is over." The council chamber exploded in panic. "This is war," they screamed. "This is declaration." But Rethor sat in silence. His claws tapped the table. His mind turned to the grey-eyed commander's words. Judgment, not conquest. Warning, not war. He rose slowly. "No," he said, "this is not war yet. This is the last chance we will be given." Meanwhile, at the Empire's border, the sky itself seemed to change. Dozens of human ships appeared, then hundreds, a formation so vast it swallowed starlight. They did not fire, they only stood waiting. Every alien fleet scrambled, alarms blaring. Commanders shouted orders. Civilians prayed. The galaxy trembled on the bridge of the human flagship. The grey-eyed commander stood with his officers. One asked, "Will they listen?" The commander's lips tightened. "They will resist. They always resist. But resistance is part of judgment." Another officer frowned. "And if they fire?" The commander's eyes burned cold. "Then we answer. And there will be no second warning." Admiral Rethor raced to the front lines. His flagship took position between his fleet and the human armada. His officers begged him, "We cannot stop them. Admiral, if they strike, we are finished." Rethor raised his hand. "Silence. They have not struck. They are waiting. If they wanted us dead, we would already be dust." His second-in-command whispered. "Then what do they want?" Rethor answered. "The truth." A channel opened, and the scarred human commander appeared on every screen. His voice was steady. "You have seen our power. You have seen our restraint. Now you will make your choice. You may fight us and be destroyed, or you may face what you are and survive." Rethor stepped forward. "What is it you want from us?" The human's eyes met his. "Memory," he said. "We want you to remember what you did, what you tried to erase. For centuries you told yourselves we were monsters. You told your children we were gone, but we were exiled, left to die, and still We endured, gasps echoed across the alien bridge. Officers looked at each other in horror. Rethor's throat tightened. Exiled! The human nodded. Yes, your ancestors feared us, so they conspired to bury us. They thought the void would finish the work. But deathworlders do not die in silence. We return. Rage boiled in the council chamber back on the Capitol. Lies, they screamed. Fabrications, but some looked pale. Old memories stirring in their blood in the streets. Citizens who had never known the old war now saw it with their own eyes. History rewritten by the humans themselves. Rethor looked at the human commander. If what you say is true, then why not strike? Why not burn us for what was done? The human's answer was a whisper that cut like steel. Because vengeance is easy, judgment is harder. We came not only to punish, but to test. We want to see if your empire can live in truth or collapse in lies. For a long moment, the stars were silent. Then a young alien officer broke the stillness with a trembling voice. Admiral, incoming fire. Everyone turned in shock. A rogue fleet, loyal to the Council's cries for war, had opened fire against the human armada. Missiles streaked through the void. Rethor's eyes widened. No, he roared. But it was too late. The human ships did not scatter. They did not shield. They moved as one. A wall of energy flared. Every missile turned to ash before reaching its mark. Then the human fleet answered, not with destruction, but with silence. Their weapons pulsed once, and the rogue fleet's ships went dark. Systems dead, crews powerless. They drifted like toys across the stars. The human voice filled the void again. We will not strike first, but we will end every strike against us. Remember this. Rethor's officers stared in awe. They could have killed them all, one whispered. Rethor's voice was heavy. They chose not to. That is the sharpest blade of all. He opened a channel. His face filled the Empire's networks. His voice was strong. We cannot erase the past. We cannot undo what was done to them, but we can choose now. War will end us, truth may save us. I say we listen. For the first time, silence filled the council chamber. No shouting, no demands, only silence. The people watched with wide eyes. The soldiers lowered their weapons, and across the void, the human commander watched with a faint, grim smile. Perhaps there is hope, he said to his officers. Perhaps, but his grey eyes still carried the weight of storms. He turned back to the stars, whispering, the judgment has only begun.